So what's going on, everybody? GMAC in the building, and it's funny. We were having some technical difficulties and thought that I would kick us off because there's not deep analysis to do tonight. So figured it was okay to start. And lo and behold, right when it was time for me to get going, the man, the myth, the legend, John Macri himself is able to fix all his tech. You've had a banner day today with the technology. Figuring out Instagram, your new endeavor, since Twitter is clearly going down the drain, and now here you are figuring out technical difficulties on StreamYard all by yourself. I'm proud of you.
Why, thank you. It only took forcibly restarting my computer, much like the Knicks should have done tonight. The Knicks should have forcibly restarted themselves after they started playing this game.
Yes. So I will let you take it away, sir.
Thank you for starting us off. Hey, everybody. Thanks to everybody watching, staying up late for what was not a very rewarding game. I will say at the outset, if you're looking for me to kill the team tonight, it's not going to happen. They played like a team that was sick. I mean, we heard after the Denver game that the bug going around the whole locker room. Everybody's kind of got it, whatever. Randall said he was sick after the last game. They just played like a team tonight that had their. The only way I could describe it is like when you're sick but you're functional and you could like leave the house but your head's in the clouds and you're like not thinking clearly, because that's the only way I could explain a couple things tonight. One, the shot was just completely off for everybody. I mean, you don't see Jalen Brunson go. I'm just looking up right now. What did he finish at? You don't see Jalen Brunson go 2 for 13. Like, Jalen Brunson played 50 games, and if he's feeling okay for those 50 games, he's not going to go 2 for 13 in any of those games. He was 2 for 13. Obi was 0 for 5. Quickly was 0 for 5. I mean, we'll talk about RJ, I'm sure. He finished the night 6 of 19. Yeah, the shot was just very off. The decision making was like, to say it was poor, it doesn't even really do it justice. They just did some things that were just like absolutely head scratching in terms of some of the passes. And then there was just a lack of crispness with like just not being able to secure loose balls. Like some of the times they got stripped. Like there were a few, like Obi Toppin like hasn't had a game where he looked this off since his rookie year. At least, you know, it's been that long. Quickly too. Just like these guys are solid as a rock, and for them to come out, for all of them to come out, Brunson, Quickly, Obi, like these are the guys you count on to be stabilizing forces of them. For them to come out and look just like so off, I don't know what else to attribute that other than the fact that there's clearly something like either that or there were, you know, someone texted me earlier who was like, don't kill them tonight, they're gassed. Maybe they're gassed. I don't know. They've had a day off between the last game, but, you know, back-to-back Utah, Denver, maybe they're still feeling the effects of that. Who knows? And then when you play against the Warriors, who just play at a very different speed, you know, that could throw you off too. So I'm not going to kill them tonight. I thought they showed good fight. Like, certain types of efforts get under my skin more than others. Like the Oklahoma City game is something that is always going to get under my skin because there just seemed to be like a lack of urgency, a lack of effort. Tonight, you know, they thought the, you know, Warriors shooting is like such a game changer and their movement is such a game changer. It's so unexpected for you when you don't play them all the time that, you know, you could look silly. The thing I said at halftime is like the Warriors, much like the Celtics a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, are a team that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And like the Knicks weren't crisp on defense, but I thought they did fight. I thought they showed some nice hustle. Like they got a bunch of offensive rebounds. I thought Jericho Sims had another really nice games. This Jericho Sims thing, man. Jericho Sims played 27 minutes, double-double. Ended up with 5 offensive rebounds, had 3 blocks. Yeah, that's probably my brightest spot from this game. A couple other, you know, bits that we should consider. Cam Reddish left with sore groin. He did not return. You hope he's okay, but sore groin, doesn't sound great. You wonder what that's going to result in with them now playing on in Phoenix on Sunday, and then another back-to-back. Phoenix Sunday, Oklahoma City on Monday, and then their next game isn't until Friday. You know, wouldn't be surprised at all to see Cam shut down for the rest of the trip. I mean, obviously, who the hell knows? It's early. Maybe he'll be fine. But what happens then? Does Grimes slot in the starting rotation if that happens? I don't know. So that sucks. Good game from Sims. Nothing else I really want to say. I thought they got beat by a good Warriors. You're not going to win when you're playing the Warriors and the Warriors are hitting their shots and the Warriors were hitting their shots. Warriors finished tonight 18 of 50 from 3 for 36%, which is like a standard game for them. But the Knicks were 9 of 34. I guess that's the last thing I'll say is it's the fatal flaw in the Knicks offense. It's just really tough to consistently be a good offensive team when you not only are a bad offense, when you're not only a bad shooting team from outside, which the Knicks are not, or after tonight, they might be. I don't know how the Lakers are playing right now. I don't know how the Lakers are shooting tonight, but there's a chance the Knicks could be the 30th best three-point shooting team in the league if they have a couple more bad games and the Lakers have a little uptick. But more than that, when you Andrew's telling me first ever Knicks loss in the Chase Center. I did not realize that. Your main guys don't really want to shoot threes. That's not their preference. I've been saying it all year. That's how they've assembled this team. It's kind of it's a design flaw. But if that's the worst thing you could say about their offense, when they're doing other things well, you could survive that. But when they're not hitting shots and they're not doing other things well, other than get to the line, which they did a very good job tonight, and when they're playing a team that is a really good offensive team, it's just really tough to keep up when they're making threes and you're making twos, or you're getting to the line. That's it. I'm sure RJ's going to come up. The other night where he looked awful, but I don't know what else there is to say that hasn't been said. I'm not going to pile on. I'll let other people do that for me. Okay, that's all I got. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is important. Download the WynnBet app. WynnBet are proud sponsors for this post-game show, pre- and post-game shows. I think we'll get the betting and sweating bets later, but I think we had some nice hits tonight. Anyway, visit www.wynnbet.com. That's WYNNBET.com to start winning. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download BetWin. Thought the Knicks were going to fuck around and maybe make it a cover tonight. I think it was a 7.5 point spread. Andrew, does that sound right?
Which is funny because Deuce McBride had a 3.
Did he? I missed that.
Well, so he had a 3 down at the very end of garbage time that would have made it 111-104, which would have covered.
That's a shame.
So, let's knock out betting and sweating now because the two nice hits. Mensa took Steph Curry to hit 5 threes.
Good job by
that
him.
Hit. Shout out to Sean. Draymond Green has 4 3-pointers on the season, and he took Draymond to hit 1 3. It was plus money,
and he hit
1 3.
Boy, did it piss Tom Thibodeau off because I think he was mad at Julius. Julius, I thought, was okay tonight. He obviously, like everybody, he didn't have a great game, but man, his defensive miscues are just so glaring.
Yes, they're worthy of everybody call timeout immediately after.
And that wasn't the only one. He had 2 in the first half where he just completely lost Andrew Wiggins on both of them. It was just not. Yeah. It's not ideal.
So my betting and sweating was Jalen Brunson, points, rebounds, and assists. He obviously missed tonight.
Sorry about that.
And then unfortunately, XJ went high on Obi, points and assists, and Obi did not score a point. Obi scored 1 point tonight, right?
I think he had a free throw, but yeah, pretty crazy. You could say comfortably this was the worst game of the season for Brunson, worst game of the season for Obi, worst game of the season for Quickly.
Obi and Quickly combined 0 for 10 or 6 from 3.
Yeah. When you're 3 kind of, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, when you're 3 kind of metronome players who you just know what you're going to get from. I do want to. I'll wait till a comment brings it up, but I'm sure somebody's going to ask about Quickly trade stuff, and I'll save my thoughts for then. Let's get to the super chats.
Can I? Before we do, I know it's late. Do you know the other 3 times the Knicks played in the Chase Center? Can you go down memory lane?
Well, I know they won last year. That was a fun game.
That was a Julius game. They won by 2 points. started a bit of a skid for the. Oh, it's not. Do you know? It's do you remember the 3 games Knicks have played in the Chase Center before tonight?
I'm trying to remember the game from the We Here season.
So it was part of a stretch that there was the beginning of a road trip, and we were all kind of wondering how real this thing was. And they won by like 16, and it was like 116-101 in Golden State.
I remember that game. They looked really good, but the Golden State wasn't fully healthy.
They weren't, but that was, I mean, they didn't have Clay all year.
Yeah.
Fully healthy is just they didn't have Clay.
Yeah, the Knicks looked good that night. I remember that game. I don't remember at all the game from 2019-20.
It was an overtime win. It was the first Knicks win with Mike Miller as head coach.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I like vaguely recall it now.
And then so Jason M and the chat is reminding me the Draymond got ejected in that game.
The one
I believe the one 2 years ago. The one 2 years ago, the We Here season. So.
Okay.
So yeah. All right.
You cut yourself off there, GMAC. All right. Let's see what we want.
To the super chats.
Thank you.
We go.
Shout out to everybody watching, by the way. It's almost 1:00 in the morning. I'm sure there's better things you could be doing on a Friday or Saturday morning, I should say. Ryan Huang starts us off. Is RJ shooting 5% 3-pointers in the last 3 games not a situation? Is your best wing defender getting injured when you need stops not a situation? Mr. Untouchable not touching the court. Hashtag make it make sense. Hashtag free Quentin Grimes. Inappropriate. First message. I mean, Grimes got on the court at the end of the game. Okay, so, oh man, I was gonna save this, but for like a quickly question. I have a theory. It's a 2-part theory. First part of the theory. The Knicks, as they entered this 5-game road trip, I think they intended specifically to, like, we're going to see how this 5-man group looks. Or, sorry, this 9-man group looks on this road trip. And we want to see, and, like, clearly they have a very specific plan as far as bringing Quickly and Rose in early. Then we're going to have some minutes where it's RJ with the bench, and then we'll reinsert Brunson into the game. So it's Brunson, RJ, and the bench, and then slowly bring the starters back in. Maybe we mix and match some Obi and Randall. Like, I think they had a very, like, Tibbs is like, all right, I think this is going to give us our best chance to win. Obviously, the RJ thing and now tonight, the Cam thing, throw a monkey wrench into that. But I think they really wanted to just kind of see how this was working out. And hey, look, they won the first 2 games. And even tonight with RJ being doo-doo yet again, you know, it's an 8-point game in the fourth quarter. Say what you want. But, like, I do think that plan is working. I think I'm going to continue to have my issues with the starting 5, but the for political reasons that starting 5 is not going to change. That's part 1. Part 2, and this is probably going to upset a lot of people, but at this point I feel like I could say it because how many different trade reports do you need between Begley and then Shams today? I think this team thinks they're going to move Emmanuel Quickly before the trade deadline. Flat out. Maybe they think it's going to be Derrick Rose instead. Maybe. But I don't know what Derrick Rose is going to get you in a trade. And I think so. Maybe I should not go so hard. I think the team thinks they are going to move Emmanuel Quickly or Derrick Rose in a trade before the trade deadline. Let me say that. So I'm sure I know you can't take it back once you say something because the internet is forever. But, like, no, I mean, I will be honest. If you ask me to put money right now on which of the 2 get moved before the deadline, I'd bet money that it's Quickly. That's just my gut feeling. I don't have anything other than that to say it. Just reading the tea leaves again. Begley's reports, I think, speak volumes. So yeah, and again, the fact that they're taking calls on him and engaging in conversations about him is an indication that they are willing to move him. Now, where my issue with the Quickly thing has to do more with valuation and getting the appropriate valuation. I'll save those thoughts for maybe a little bit later in the live stream. But I think when you're talking, how does this relate back to Grimes? I think they are comfortable having Grimes ride the bench right now because I think they feel like he is going to get at the very least, the last 30 games of the year, or however many games are after the trade deadline, to be a heavy minute rotation player. And maybe earlier than that, depending on when they swing this trade, that in my mind, I think that they're going to swing. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that eases anyone's concerns, but it's my theory. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? How are you? Against a team with a struggling bench, would have liked more out of Obi. Yeah, Obi didn't have a good game. It happens. I'm not going to kill him. Loved Sims. Even showed some surprising defensive footwork outside of the paint. I can't be impressed enough with Jericho Sims. And, Tibbs says Cam is day-to-day with the groin injury. Okay. I wrote something for the newsletter today, basically spitballing the idea of like do you kick the tires on the Mitchell Robinson trade market? Or I guess in theory the Isaiah Hartenstein trade market, but like Sims gives you, it's such a luxury because he's a rotation player. He's an NBA rotation player right now. He's clearly an NBA rotation player. He's good. Not saying he should be playing 30 minutes a night, but he's a guy that can give you 15 minutes. And the way the Knicks roster is constructed, where you have this ability to play these two, not only two guys, Julius Randle and Obi Toppin at center, and they don't need to play together. Again, we know the issues that brings. We know that the coach doesn't like it. I get all that, but you have all these big wings. You'd love to see some lineups where, whether it's RJ at the 4 or Cam at the 4, or Obi at the 4 and Julius at the 5, or vice versa. Like all that shit. Like all of that is a possibility. You'd love to see more of it. You have Hartenstein here. You have Sims here. Sims could give you 10 minutes in a game. He could give you 30 minutes a game. He could give you a DMP, and it doesn't matter because the dude's making $2 million. So to have that situation with all of that and then have $60 million wrapped up in a center, I wonder what is the market, because that's the other side of the coin, is like they're not going to give Mitch away. They do value Mitchell Robinson. They should value Mitchell Robinson. He can be a big part of what they're doing. It's like, I feel like it's been the same freaking thing since the summer. There's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot to like about the players on this team. The current mixing and matching of the pieces, and like in terms of maximizing your value of your resources at hand, does not add up. It is not maximizing their current value, which is where I think that gets into why they're looking to maybe trade quickly. Is that the right move to maximize the value of the roster? I'm not so sure. But sorry, I went off on a Mitch tangent there, and your question was not even about Mitchell Robinson. Robert Cross, is it fair and reasonable to say that this one belongs in the crapper? Yes, it is reasonable and fair to say that, Robert. That's where I'm sitting. Yeah, I think you throw this one out. Sims was a second-round steal, though. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, second-round steal. Absolutely. Love him. Want to see him get more minutes. Kevin Danishevsky. Hello, Kevin. I wonder where this comment is going. Jericho, what a pick. Making Mitch look tradable. I do want to add, though, regarding the making Mitch look tradable, someone who I trust reached out today and was like, pump the brakes on the trade Mitch bandwagon, or like they really do value him, and whatever, rightly or wrongly, I think I believe that. I do think they value him, and I think if they didn't value him, they would have moved him at the deadline last year, or maybe before they re-signed him. Anyway, RJ may be the worst starter in the NBA right now. God awful. With Cam injured and 0 3-point shooting, Grimes needed playing time. At least we fought an 8-point deficit in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I like the fight. I mean, look, I don't watch all 29 teams. I wish I had time to do that. I'm sure there are starters playing worse than RJ Barrett. The tough part, and again, you feel bad killing RJ tonight because like Brunson was just as bad from the field. Obi and Quickly overall, honestly, were just as bad as RJ tonight. It's concerning because of what it's been like, not only this last week, but how so many of the things that he's doing just remind you of stuff that we've been seeing for 3 years now. and specifically the fact that he allegedly, I feel bad saying allegedly, but like whatever, we were told he worked on rim finishing this year. He worked on his decision making on his forays to the rim this summer. Like if those are the two things that you worked on all summer, and that's where that's literally the foundation of your game if you're RJ Barrett, because he doesn't do anything else. He drives. And he shoots catch and shoot threes. He doesn't shoot off the dribble threes. He has no mid-range game. He's not some crazy passer. This is it. Just drive, make the right read, and if you take the shot, make more than you miss. And like that specific part of his game continues to show the same troubling signs. I don't really know what to do with that. And then when you factor in missing all the threes, where it's like, it's just say what you want about Tibbs. You may despise the man, but it is just interesting that a coach who just never calls anybody out last season and then this season mentioned in different interviews, different media availabilities. RJ's great when he practices his three. Like it's not hard to read between the lines. So, I don't know how this all adds up. But he's sick, so I guess we can't talk about it. Michael, RJ must have given me his sickness because I feel ill. I'm fearing RJ is turning into last year's Randall. I mean, Jesus, I don't even know what to do with that. This is the guy he's always been. Like I don't. That was always my concern. Is like we were, even with the extension this summer, we were betting on progress, because if they signed the guy that played last year, if you factor in the entire year, like it's an overpay because that guy wasn't that great. Yeah, he took a bunch of shots. He had a 30 usage rate. He made some tough ones. He had some really nice games. He got to the line a bunch after December 31st, but like it's not a complete player. So that's always what I come back to. That's like the most depressing part is it's like, but then again, you look at a guy like Wiggins. Now Wiggins has athleticism that RJ Barrett will never be able to touch, functional athleticism. And that matters. But like, go back and watch Wiggins in his fourth year. I mean, that dude looked, you want to talk about a guy that looked lost. Like he looked lost. And now he is the, whatever he is, second, third, fourth most important player on a championship team. He's the second most important player in the finals. So is there still hope? Yeah, there's still hope. It's not great right now. Hush Zoo, what's going on, Hush? My last game comment on RJ came off harsh. I meant to say he sucked in game, not in general. However, whatever this is right now is just disgusting. Yeah. It's not fun to watch RJ Barrett right now. Like all this you loved for like the first year and the second year and even last year. Like, oh, he gets to the hoop. Those are the shots we want, right? Well, eventually you got to start hitting them, and eventually you have to start realizing, more importantly, that there are some shots that you probably should not take. And that is still a thing that there is not enough recognition. And when you add in the inability to hit a three, it's a bad combination. But, he was built for this. I'm sure he's going to be fine. Huber, then. What's going on, Huber? The drop scheme is going to ruin me. I can't kill the defense tonight. They gave up 111 points to the Warriors, who are at home scoring 116.5 points per 100 possessions coming into this game. They've been annihilating teams on offense at home. I thought the Knicks defense was not the reason they lost tonight. Yes, are there moments of confusion? Absolutely. But the thing is, those moments of confusion where it's glaring, right? Where it's a glaring, like, oh my God, how did they miss that coverage? Or like, how did they leave that guy so wide open? The reason you have those moments is because there is such a high amount of activity level on every possession with their defense, and there is so much movement. And when you have a breakdown, the breakdown is going to look bad. The flip side of that coin is that there are a lot of possessions where it has the intended effect, which is that the other team does not get a great shot. And I think it's notable that, like, again, on a night that the Warriors had a bunch of plays where you're like, oh my God, the defense looks terrible, they only scored 111 points. And they've been, again, killing teams at home. Anyway, rest of the comment: bench RJ till he's healthy, and this Grimes situation grows weirder with every game. Again, I gave you my Grimes theory. I don't know if it's crazy, but that's my theory. Hayden Freed, what's going on, Hayden? Dubs had 6 guys open with 5 players on the court. Man, I did not expect to get Knicks getting killed on their defense tonight. I don't know. I agree. It was not ideal. It was not great, but I did not think that's where they lost the game. I think they lost the game with turnovers. I think they lost the game. They gave up a few too many offensive rebounds. And I think they lost the game because they couldn't hit a blessed shot. But yes, the moments where it looks bad, it looks very bad. And that's fair. Maple Maxo, what's going on, Maple? If Grimes is good to go, could his limited play be a front office directive so they could evaluate Cam, IQ, Obi before trades and extensions? Yes. 1,000%. That was, thank you for pointing that out. I should have pointed out explicitly in what I said before. Yes. And I think I don't group Obi into that category. Again, my own 2 cents, people may find this to be crazy because of how much they play Randall. I think they are very much on board with Obi Toppin moving forward. And I think they want him to be here. I think they want to extend him. My guess is they probably feel like they could get him at a pretty good number. But that's just an assumption. But yeah, I think it's 100%. Not that it's a front office directive, but I think they've probably all agreed, like, look, Grimes is a second year of a rookie deal. We don't have to worry about him right now. Let's use this time. And again, he's working his way back. Maybe the conditioning isn't fully there. It's not like any of the guys, other than RJ, it's not like any of the guys that have been playing, you're like, oh, Grimes should definitely be playing over that player. Not now that Fournier is on the bench. And it really just comes down to, like, benching RJ, which is, again, that's a political thing. They're not going to bench RJ. They're just not. Not going to do it. Same reason they didn't bench Randall last year. And yes, part of that has to do with money. Robert Cross, what's going on, Rob? First time, long time, John. Real talk. Oh, boy, here we go. Are the RJ troubles gone by Christmas Day? I may be slightly concerned at this juncture. Hashtag 53 wins. I don't know, Robert. I got a lot of DMs from you over the summer about you've never believed in a player like RJ Barrett since, I don't want to say since when, but you threw around some lofty comparisons to Rowan in terms of the type of personality and just made for New York and all of the things. Yeah, I got to see him be a good basketball player first. Got to see him be a good player. Good, two-way, consistent, efficient player. Good decision maker. Got to see those things. I don't know when that happens. And I don't know if it happens in New York. Hush Zoo with one more. Julius Randle rant. Why do we as a fan base have to be subjected to a player who, again, shows nothing on defense, needs a personal therapist on the court in Jalen Brunson, and ignores helping up teammates? Hashtag trade 30. Please, Leon. Didn't think this was a great Randle game. What did he finish with? 4 or 5 turnovers? I know he had at least 4 turnovers. I don't know if he got an additional one before the end of the game. No, he ended up with 4. 2 assists. Not what you want. A couple of bad offensive possessions in addition to the turnovers where he just had some bad shots and was trying to work something that wasn't there. That shot that was blocked by Poole, poor awareness. Again, the 3 or 4 plays a game where it just completely loses his man. This is all real shit. Why do we have to be subjected to it? Because the dude was an MVP candidate and they signed him to a $100 million contract. That's your answer. I don't know. And he's not that easy to trade for what they consider to be fair value. Joe Dugan, what's going on, Joe? RJ looks like Westbrook without the athleticism. Oh, boy. He threw an LOL in there, but I don't know if the LOL is taking the sting off of that comment, man. TK Hushu again. I wonder what the cost is for Moody or Kuminga. Yeah, the Warriors are an interesting spot. Like, they have all these kids. They tried to kind of have their cake and eat it too this year. I mean, look, say what you want for them. They're 7-9. Like, they're right there. They'll be fine. Like, I think they knew that they could give themselves a little cushion to try to play these guys. Does it mean that they're out on them? I don't think it means that they're out on them. I don't see a trade there. Like, why would the Warriors sell so low on those guys unless they were truly out on them? And in that case, like, what are we giving them? Like, if you're like, what are you doing? Like a Moody for quickly swap? Like, I don't even like. I don't know. No, I don't see it. Bernard Richardson, what's going on, Bernard? Major simplification, but we just watched new age NBA basketball versus whatever inflexible scheme Tibbs shouts out there over and over. Bernard, I hate to push back on this. It's not the scheme. It's the design of the roster. They have built a roster that is not suited for the NBA in 2022. Jalen Brunson does not want to shoot threes. RJ Barrett cannot take off the dribble threes and would much rather drive. He will take catch and shoot threes, can't hit them. Julius Randle, probably the most willing three-point shooter of the three, and he doesn't really want to shoot threes. Like, that's not his ideal thing. So if you're three highest usage guys who are all in the starting lineup, none of whom prefer to shoot threes and would much rather do their work inside the paint, and you have all of those guys literally dozens of times throughout the game with an opportunity to pull up, that's a design flaw. That's not a scheme thing. And you can't tell me it's a scheme thing because despite being 29th in the league in three-point shooting coming into this game, they were still the 18th best team in offense, which is as good a differential between three-point shooting and offensive rating as you're going to find in basketball. That, by definition, means that they are doing things correctly. And they are doing things correctly. They're not turning the ball over. They're getting a lot of offensive rebounds. They're taking all the right shots. New age basketball is not shooting long twos. Guess which team shoots fewer long twos than any team in basketball? The New York Knickerbockers. Guess which team is top 7 or 8 in corner three-point shooting frequency? The New York Knickerbockers. Guess which team shoots more shots in the paint than any team in basketball? The New York Knickerbockers. And when you factor in the offensive rebounding that they built their team around, it's not a scheme thing. It's not a scheme thing. I'm sorry to push back so much on this. It's about having guys that don't want to shoot threes and that can't make threes. And then he says, why not tailor your game plan to your players and help them? What do you think they tried to do? They've built it. They've tailored the game plan to, like, okay, you don't want to shoot threes. We're going to give you opportunities to do things other than shoot threes. It's just on a night like this, it's hard. It's tough. Blame the front office for the roster that they've built and the money that they've invested in three guys who don't want to, shoot threes, especially off the dribble threes. Biagio Marino. What's going on, Biagio? We could talk about individual games and players, but this team and season boils down to a lack of elite talent, you think? We'll continue to put a ceiling on this team. Pat Gordon from Regis says hello. Hey! What's going on? Always good to get a Regian or someone who knows a Regian in the comments. Here's one more from Biagio. The front office no longer has an option. This is again in regards to elite talent. Front office no longer an option given supermaxes. The price for the first star is high, as we saw. Picking 10 to 20 gets us back to where we are. Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation we've had since the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors first started. I remember I wrote a whole long, big thing in my God, Jesus, I don't even, was it the beginning of July? Where it was like the Knicks are between a rock and a hard place because they don't have the first star and they got to trade a whole lot to get the first star. And then what do you got left over? We're now sitting here 5 months later. Conversation hasn't changed one iota. And the conversation won't change one iota 5 months from now. The only hope is that everything else that's here gets good enough where you feel like you can give everything up for 1 star and that 1 star is enough. It's what me and Schmilk talked about on the pod today. That's got to be the hope. Lunas and Marat, F the narratives. If he's too sick to be close to media, he shouldn't have played. Oh, I see. If RJ was too sick to be close to the media, he shouldn't have played. I wish he would rest. I know he'll bounce back soon, like he has every season. I mean, you hear stories about players playing sick all the time. Julius Randle was sick the last game. His best game is Nick, arguably. One of his top 5. Played his ass off. On defense. There was a moment tonight. Hold on, I wrote it down. Give me one. Sorry, this is exceptional live streaming here. Yeah. So it was so strange. It was either the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, where RJ was his response. It was a shot went up for the Warriors, and RJ's responsibility was to box out Andrew Wiggins, and it wasn't a great box out. And he also didn't jump, and Wiggins just jumped and got the ball, and then RJ fouled him on the putback attempt, and then RJ screamed in disgust. What do you? I was just wondering. I'm not trying to be a dick. What are you screaming at? Are you screaming at yourself because you're mad at how utterly abhorrent you've been playing? Are you mad because you don't have lift that you would normally have because you're sick? Which that would be confusing because he's not a guy that jumps very high anyway. That was confusing to me. And then a little while later, he throws that pass to Julius Randle, where I think it was Steph Curry was right in front of Julius Randle, and just streaked down the court for the easiest 2 points of the game. Is that him? He's sick. That's why he threw that pass. Or what about in what was easily the funniest moment of the game, where he goes and he drives and he does the thing that he does 2 or 3 or 4 times a game, which is fall on the ground and not get a foul call as the shot careens off of the backboard and barely hits the rim. And it leads to a fast break for the other team where it's 5-on-4, except they got lucky because some Nick picked off the pass and RJ had just barely got up off the floor on the other end of the court. And he's standing there with nobody around him and he dunks. And God bless Wally Zerbiak. Really good hang time, or what did he say? Really good athleticism on that dunk. Really, Wally? You mean the dunk where the fucking closest guy to him was the ball boy who wipes up the court? Yeah, it's good to see him get up on that dunk. I don't know what to do with any of this. I just don't know what to do with any of this. God bless you if you're a stan and you're sitting here and be like, fucking Macri always killing RJ. I God bless you to have that kind of conviction. I wish I had that conviction. I would pay for that conviction in this player after what we've seen for 3 years and 16 games. ARA Rawad, what's going on? To be honest, I trust this front office. The players' judgment, their judgment on players, except for Fournier. From RJ to IQ, you can't win a championship with 120 plus minutes of inefficient players and probably 60 minutes plus inefficient IQ. Yeah, I mean, they don't have enough good offensive players. I agree with that. Brunson was a big help. Quickly's offensive game, I don't think anyone would say has come along as well as they would have liked. Grimes, we'll see. Cam, we'll see. Yeah, but as far as their ability to evaluate talent, I don't know that that's. I don't know. They're probably middle of the pack for me right now. I think it's maybe too early to judge. Let's see what some of these kids turn into. Pluckster, just how I don't know what that word is. Unviolatable are the unwritten rules keeping RJ in the starting lineup. Oh, they're not going to bench RJ. I'm looking at it right now. The slam poster that I never took down. It's right. There's RJ stared at me in the face like, you mother. How dare you say those harsh things about me? I said, yo, I'm a Knick. Be nice. No, they're not going to bench him. They're not going to bench him. They don't have that kind of organizational cojones. Kevin Danishevsky, Q-Shack plus Kobe vid. RJ plus Evan dominating in China. Oh, my goodness gracious. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Big B. Hey, John, what is Obi's ceiling? John Collins, question mark? Benji had some comments on that earlier today on Twitter. Am I crazy to say I think it's higher? I think it's higher. I think I buy Obi's defense long term. I still buy Obi's defense long term because I think we've seen some real improvements there. I think he was lost as a rookie defensively, and he was okay last year. And I think he's been better than okay this year. I'm always going to worry about the defensive rebounding. I'm always going to worry if he's like really put in tough situations against teams like the Warriors. But I love the 3-point shooting. I believe in his 3-point shooting more than I've ever believed in John Collins' 3-point shooting. I know he's in a maybe 2-game slump now. And I just think athletically and just how he moves and how he operates on offense, I do think that there is something special there. The concerns that I have with Obi Toppin are that for him to be like a vital part to a really successful team, I know what it looks like, but I don't know what your ceiling as a team is with that. Because I do think his ceiling is as a 5 on offense for most of the time that he's on the court. And what kind of team do you need to put around him for that to be workable? But you probably say the same thing about John Collins. But again, John Collins has shown himself like you cannot survive defensively with him at the 5. Can you survive defensively with Obi at the 5 if he's in the right sort of lineup? I don't know that we know that answer yet. It's an interesting question though. Sam Roth, what's going on, Sam? I still believe in RJ. Here we go. We needed some positivity to push back against all this vitriol. But his process, oh boy, I should have read the rest of the comment. But his process and body language was despicable. Oh, goodness. Don't pride yourself on playing every game if you are going to play hard. Yeah, playing hard would be nice. I don't know that I need to add anything there. Guy Huber then, why not bench or trade Rose to open minutes for Quentin Grimes? I think you saw a report today about trading Derrick Rose. I don't like trades in the NBA don't happen with the exception of something like the Jay Crowder situation, which seems like it's going to resolve itself sooner rather than later. Trades in the NBA don't really happen before December 15th, which is when teams can, like, I don't know what percentage of players in the league, something like 40% of the players in the league aren't trade eligible until after December 15th anyway. So, and they're not going to bench Derrick Rose. They're just not. Like, and I don't necessarily blame them. We're talking about how many games between now and December 15th. Is it the right decision? Is it the right organizational decision? Is it a decision, a really, really, again, smart, confident, like organization that has its shit together? Is it a decision they would make if they were in the position the Knicks are in? Probably not. Like, they would probably bench Rose and play Grimes. Do I find that decision to be as untenable or just as bad as some people? I personally don't. If you do, I don't blame you for that. I'm not there, but I think they're going to look to trade Rose to open up minutes for Grimes. Michael, Knicks switch Grimes for RJ tonight. Do they win? Ooh, that's the Michael. You get the award. You're the star of this game because that's the best question of the night. No. Brunson was so bad offensively, and Quickly and Obi were so off. I hate to put it on them, but like it was so unnerving to see those guys all have bad games. That never happens. Like quickly, I noticed has games where he doesn't shoot well, but he was just off. His decision making was off. He wasn't crisp. So no, I say they don't, but I would have liked to see it. That's for sure. Would have liked to see it. Mr. Nick 101, can we trade RJ? Oh my goodness gracious, I feel bad now. I don't like watching him play. I'm sorry. Man. This is Andrew, I need you to come in here. I'm like unnerved.
Why? Because you opened this by saying you don't want to pile on and then went on to pile on.
Did I pile on?
I would think so. You brought up what he said when he got drafted. Yo, I'm a Nick in a mocking way.
Well, hold on. I've been fairly transparent about the fact that I think his media savvy is I think his media personality is extraordinarily carefully curated.
Yes. Name an NBA player who isn't.
Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose says whatever the fuck's on his mind. I think, and there's other players like that. I think RJ is very, very, very cognizant of his image to this fan base. And I think he has been cognizant of his image to this fan base from the day he got drafted, literally the night he was drafted.
Do you think it's like phony?
No, I don't think he's phony. I think he's smart. I think he's a smart guy. I would do the same fucking thing if I was him. He knew he got drafted to a fan base that was rabid to just grab onto someone that they could call their own, especially, what was it? It was a year coming off the Porzingis thing, right? Year and a half? It was a gold mine.
It was 6 months. Yes.
Yeah.
It was the same year. You know?
Even more so. It was a gold mine of emotional capital that was available from this fan base. I think he was absolutely smart enough to know it and be like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna say all the right things. I'm gonna embrace this franchise like the guy who they just traded clearly didn't do. And you know what? If it turns into some, whether it's endorsement deals or if it turns into, me being Chris in the face of the franchise, hey, why not?"
Why is that on? So you're saying because he embraced being this?
I'm saying it annoys me. It has always annoyed me that I think the assessment of him as a player, as a franchise figurehead, as all of those sorts of things has been at least somewhat influenced by the persona. Because if we're just assessing, like I've written how many newsletters over the years where I do just statistical comparisons between him and other players who have similar volume, similar efficiency, similar XYZ, and it spits out a list of players that is not ideal. It's not great, and it's not like this is a rare thing in NBA history. Sometimes guys get drafted, oftentimes drafted highly, and they are given all sorts of volume from those teams because the teams invest high draft picks in them. They aren't terribly efficient. And guess what happens to most of those players? They go the way of the dinosaur, But this was a very unique situation where it was a franchise that tanked, won 17 fucking games for a thing. And he was the thing that they ended up with. And I think it all plays into it. And now it's funny because now but what's funny to me is the tables have turned so quickly, and I didn't expect that.
So if I can give my
please
overall assessment of the situation, I don't think RJ Barrett is less than 40% shooter from the field. I don't think he's a 25% shooter from three. I think right before this road trip started, literally right before the OKC game on Sunday, he actually had like 6 really good games in a row where he was like 50, 40, 70, which I say 70 because that's what I can expect from RJ at the line. I don't like how far the other direction it's gone. I do think
I don't know if I like it either.
Right, but John, you're kind of I think part of why you're able to embrace it a little more is because of how many people told you like you're stupid for not seeing what we all believe in RJ to see. And as a result of being like, what's up?
Maybe I am still stupid.
Oh, we knew that. No, you're not. Like,
no, I don't. Like, it's year 4. He's 22.
Mhm.
He could get a lot better. I threw the Wiggins comparison out before, and I think it's a meaningful comparison. Because again, if I remember watching Wiggins the year after he got his extension, within 2 months, within a month, people were like, "Oh my God, did Minnesota just sign the worst contract in basketball?" And 2.5 years later, we're looking at Wiggins as like, wow, that dude just signed $100 million contract. He's underpaid. Like, if you work hard and you have some talent, I do believe RJ works. I do believe he has talent. Like, you can turn it around. He could turn it around. It's just fascinating to me that he was christened as the savior, the guy, the franchise. Whereas it's just interesting. Like, what would have happened if he wasn't the 3rd pick? What would have happened if he was like the 7th pick?
But you just said it. He wasn't. He was the 3rd pick. So therefore, there's an expectation that comes with it. I think.
So where did that all?
But through the data, you got there quicker than others did, which is why you were on board probably first publicly with the Donovan Mitchell trade being for RJ. And
do you remember that? Do you remember when you had me on as a impromptu pod when I was?
I remember you were on vacation, and then unfortunately, I brought that on all of us. Having said all this, look, I think RJ is having his worst stretch since
beginning of last year.
No, because beginning of last year he wasn't. There was bad. But there was 2 sides to the ball. He was average at least last year on defense. I almost liken this to how I evaluate like quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, I have we were talking yesterday with Schmilk about Daniel Jones against Zach Wilson, and I'm a little more alarmed with Zach Wilson than some other Jets fans, because some Jets fans are like, listen, he's had a couple of bad games. It's like, yeah, but the way he's having these bad games is alarming. That it's not just like you tried to throw something into double coverage and it's a bad read, or you didn't see a defender jump a route. No, you can't execute a simple throw the ball out of bounds play. And RJ's process the last 4 or 5 games has been like, this should have been coached out of you by now. This should have been played out of you. Some of these bad habits,
but that
should have been worked on. Should have been made better by now.
But that's where I go back to the narrative, and that's where I go back to again, he's the guy, right? He's the guy, he's the franchise, he's the star, he's the whole thing. Because, and I'll throw out another comparison that people are going to hate. It's like Harrison Barnes was RJ Barrett. He was the number 1 recruit in the country. He went to a blue blood school. He had a disappointing freshman year. I don't know if I'd say RJ Barrett had a disappointing year at Duke, but he was like, he went from the number 1 prospect in the country to a guy who was seen as number 3, and there was a chasm between number 3 and number 2. Although there was also a gap between number 3 and number 4. So throw that in fairness. But like, whatever. He didn't go to Duke and like blow everybody away. It was like, okay, it was like, some good, some bad. Where did Harrison Barnes go? Harrison Barnes went to a team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green on it, and had to learn how to be a role player. And he absolutely excelled in that role. They won a championship with him in that role. And then he eventually got an opportunity in Dallas, and now with Sacramento, to have a little bit of a bigger slice of the pie. And what is he? He's a 20-point per game guy. He's on a $20 million contract. Good contract. Anybody in the league would probably want Harrison Barnes on that amount of money. Like, that's a really good player, and there was never any narrative of him after he entered the league about like he's the face of the Warriors or any of that nonsense. So he was forced to embrace that. RJ's never been forced to embrace something other than you're the star.
True. And I think that's what our general audience is getting at right now, is what I'm saying. I think they're having the moment that you had this summer. They're having it right now.
I had the moment well before the summer. It was the first time I had to come out and it was the first time I had to actually reconcile it, because my own personal beliefs about RJ and my own personal doubts about his ceiling, I never really had to like talk about that much. I got to write about it in my newsletter, which was fun, but I never got to talk about it much because there's never any reason to, because they're never going to trade him.
This is where I have to push back a little bit. I produce all your live streams. I remember that 34 game stretch last year. You're almost asking if you could be part of the quote unquote RJ Hive, because he was really good for that 34 game stretch.
Yes,
last year.
He was really good, and it was an indication of a player like, okay, we now have the baseline of a guy who is finally maybe turning into the player he thinks he is. But that was the baseline. Mm-hmm. It was the baseline. It was the jumping off point.
Despite having to play with Julius Randle last year, despite having to play with terrible spacing because they always have a true center down there, which he still has to play with down there. Now, look, that doesn't excuse the bad start and the poor shooting numbers, but like the situation also hasn't been ideal for him to succeed. Someone that likes to get to the rim, there's always multiple defenders down there.
I think that getting a 30 usage rate cures a lot of ills. And most NBA players would not know what to do with a 30 usage rate, which is, again, part of what makes RJ Barrett such an interesting player, because he embraces the 30 usage rate. He wants the 30 usage rate. That could be a gift and that could be a curse. And I think what we're reconciling with right now is whether that is a gift or a curse, that he's a guy who sees himself as a 30 usage guy. And is there a world where he gets to be more of a 21, 22, 23 usage guy and really, really, really attacks that with the same ferocity that he attacked being the number one option on a team, which he clearly loved? You know, we don't know how he feels right now.
We don't. I mean, apparently pretty shitty if you believe all of the quotes about.
I don't mean physically. I mean,
no, but that's my point. It's like
there's
a lot we don't know, you know, as far as the psyche of him. So like to say because he embraced being the guy in New York, it's like we have to hold you to that standard when his ability, unfortunately, is starting to show that he's much more of a third guy. And I think that's what I'm recognizing is the overall conversation, that any pushback about how whatever ceiling RJ Barrett's career was going to have always was met with venom. And now that it's starting to be like, okay, maybe he is more like the third best guy or the fourth best guy, or the reason why Danny Ainge wasn't like, RJ, oh, I'm in. But that's, I think, what everybody's realizing that now. And I don't know. But that's why I feel like it's unfair to him at this point.
It is unfair to him because he should have never had this placed on him, because he's not that level of player. He's never been that level of player. He was never going to be that level of player. The comparison for last year, the real comparison, was to Julius Randle the prior season, except not as good, because we saw what a team could be with Julius Randle as its number one. And it was a team that was pretty good. It was a perfectly constructed team to facilitate Randle being that guy. And they milked it for all that it was worth. Last year's team surrounding RJ Barrett, when he was the guy, was not perfectly suited for RJ's talent. That said, the fact that they were not any better when RJ played versus when RJ sat, when he was going and doing all of these things with that usage, I think was, again, not something that should be ignored. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where all of this leaves us.
Well, it's game 16. We've already seen multiple different starting lineup iterations. We're at a 9-man rotation.
For him, you're talking about?
I'm talking about this season, and because like the different versions of what RJ's had to be over the past 4 years is different as far as adjusting to him this year, because he's not going to be that 30 usage guy this year. There's too many other guys that deserve minutes and deserve usage, right? So I'm saying as far as going forward, what this could become. Maybe he is eventually like a guy that comes off the bench and is ideally a sixth man. Maybe he is eventually going to be a guy that mostly takes advantage of backup units, and that's how he's able to get his usage back up. Or maybe he'll do what he did last year, and when he's not feeling under the weather, he'll have another 5-game stretch. Not even last year. Maybe he'll do what he did 2 weeks ago and have a 5-game stretch where he shoots 50, 40, 90 from the field, 50, 40, 75 after great RJ free throw shooting on a curve.
What you're talking about,
mm-hmm.
Maybe he goes and becomes a sixth man. It never happened in here.
Here, no, but I've already seen enough. Sixth man, no, but I've already seen enough this flexibility that I never thought I'd see that I think they'll try anything that works. And whereas he might, like, I don't think you're going to see a reduction in minutes. I'll say that. Like, anybody that's like Grimes should start for RJ. That's not going to happen. But like maybe he plays with the bench unit more going forward.
I think the front office showed you exactly what their intention was to do with RJ Barrett.
They wanted to trade him for Donovan Mitchell,
and that intention
they probably would have been correct. If they would have been smart enough to pull the trigger, they would have been able to do it.
And that intention has not changed. I don't think it's changed one bit. It's just a matter of now it becomes more logistically difficult in the interim because of the poison pill.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, we have more super chats. Or are we done?
We have plenty more super chats.
Oh, okay, here we go. Wombler, I kind of get the Grimes move, but I just want to watch him. I want to watch him too. I miss watching Quentin Grimes. I like Quentin Grimes. I was higher on Quentin Grimes than anybody this year. His efforts is fun to watch. At least we don't promote Ponzi schemes. Hashtag not an expert. Thank you for the contribution, Wombler. 007 Angelo. Cojones. Didn't know you were bilingual, Matt. I get my cojones that thought from Hoop Collective. I don't think they still do the cojones factor player of the week or whatever it was, but they used to do a cojones thing a bit.
I don't listen to the Hoop Collective, unfortunately.
Seriously?
You know how I am with like seasoned podcasters and people that know what they're doing. I like Brian Windhorse's reporting. I don't think he's the best podcast host.
For my money, this is gonna be sacrilegious. I think I enjoy Windy, McMahon, and Bontemps more than any other pod.
And I enjoy good audio quality.
I don't care.
I know you don't care. Believe me, it's why we're a good team. So I can care about that,
yes,
and you can care about the actual
crappy
the thing that's on the pod. You know.
Yes, the crappy RJ Barrett takes.
I've told you that was my biggest takeaway from the Zach Lowe interview. Right.
What?
Like any aura mystique of like, oh, we're talking to Zach Lowe that I might have had going in. The moment I had to teach him how to use the Yeti mic, it was like, oh
my god.
Okay, you're John, but much more expensive,
much better.
Yeah.
ARA Rawad, what's going on? Any day of the year, Kevin Porter Jr. $60 million contract versus RJ $107 million contract. Well, the Kevin Porter Jr. contract is really nice because it is, I think, only this year is guaranteed, or maybe it's next year. I forget. Whatever. Only the first year of the extension is guaranteed. That could be an interesting little contract, interesting little trade piece. But look, let's not judge the RJ extension today. Let's judge the RJ extension after 2 years, when he may or may not still be a Knick. Kevin Nedishevsky, who wins a 3-point shout out? Benji, AC, or Deuce? Seriously, can the Knicks get a shot doctor there? He's a 3-point shot away from being a very useful NBA player. That's where I'm at with Deuce.
Benji wins.
And Benji does win easily.
Benji, Deuce, then me. My shot's still there. I was at LA Fitness last week, and the shot's still there. It's the getting up and down the court that's the problem.
I would be last in that competition. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate it, man.
You can talk to Drew Hanlon. Maybe he can give you some pointers too.
I still have the tweet. I'm gonna pull it up. I have it saved in my inbox for potential future use. ARA Rewad, what is the expected return pick perspective for Robinson, RJ, IQ separately? Again, that's such a tough question because for RJ, especially because the salary is such a complicated salary to trade right now. Quickly, I think Ian nailed it when he was like, you're probably getting, I could see a team that is already good this year and that doesn't have any fears about falling off a cliff for the rest of the season, trading you their first round pick for Emmanuel Quickly. I don't think you're getting any future picks that are unprotected for Emmanuel Quickly. I think he's the easiest answer. Robinson is really tough because Robinson makes a lot of money, so you got to take back money, and that money's either going to be good money, mediocre money, or bad money. And so that factors into, all of that. And there's also how many teams are on the league are in need of a center right now. without having to like unload their own center that they may think has value. That's a tough one. I'll just answer it by saying I think Robinson is still a net plus of contract. I think he's still a good contract, even though he's injured right now. And RJ, oh boy. What is RJ? What would RJ get in a trade right now?
Like one more, what would you get back for RJ? Like,
so I'm trying to think.
But like, they almost got Donovan Mitchell for RJ Barrett. Yes, other things were involved, but like, I do still think he could be the guy in a. Well, he'd have to really turn the season around, but I think
I'm sorry. What?
I think he will turn the season around. So
he could be the who?
Yes, John, I think that a guy that has not had these numbers for his career will regress to a much more appetizing career mean. Yes. I think RJ could shoot 35, 36% from the field. We talked on Patreon today. Trae Young is shooting 38% from the field this year.
Don't
different usage, John, but what's my point? Like,
it's not about the usage. It's about comparing his numbers this year to his numbers throughout his career.
Okay, and RJ has a 40.3% shooter season, and
last
year there's a 35-game stretch where he averaged 24 a game on decent efficiency.
Not really decent efficiency, on like
44,
barely acceptable efficiency.
So I think he can be the barely acceptable main guy next to, like, you'd have to throw other stuff in. Like, it's not like with Leon Rose's plan of like, oh, he's got to be like, I included RJ.
Hold on,
it's over.
Serious question.
Yeah.
The first name that came to mind because you brought him up on the Patreon pod.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs call the Knicks tomorrow, and they could do this trade because they're so far under the cap, so the poison pill thing doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks are like RJ for Keldon Johnson.
No. Keldon Johnson. Yeah, Keldon Johnson's like really good. Yeah. RJ right now is values tanked. Plus there's what's the Keldon Johnson contract right now?
$20 million a year. Nice little contract.
It's the same thing. Okay, around the same thing.
No, Keldon I believe is 4 for 80. RJ is 4.
So RJ is
so it's 4 fully guaranteed for 107.
Yeah.
So how about this one? I got another one for you. I can keep going all night. That's what she said.
And it's live, so I can't cut it. Great.
No. Devin Vassell. Let's say they call up the Spurs. We'll get RJ for Devin Vassell right now. You doing that if you're the Spurs?
No, but you're also, again, this started with you saying you don't want to pile on. I'm saying he will get better and rehab his value this season. You're saying right now his lowest point in a long time.
If you're an NBA GM, you have to look past the here and now, and you have to project forward. So if you're the Spurs and you're one of the smartest organizations in the NBA, which allegedly they are, then you don't care about what RJ is doing right now if you believe in him long term. So I'll ask you again. What do they say when it's RJ for Devin Vassell?
I think you keep Devin Vassell. His shooting was always the thing he thought he'd figure out.
I'll give you one more. Okay. RJ for Jeremy Sohan. Sohan.
I don't think the Spurs want anything to do with RJ Barrett right now.
So, there you go.
Right now.
For what it's worth, I don't think the Knicks would offer that trade, and I think the Spurs would take that trade. I think the Spurs would take a chance on RJ Barrett at that price point. If the Knicks called them up and be like, "We'll do RJ for Sochan and one of your protected picks that you own," I think the Spurs would do that.
Okay.
One more. I gave him a compliment.
I'm proud of you. Yes, thanks. Robert Cross, last one.
This is for GMAC.
Yes,
I don't want to hear John talk about IQ being traded. I had a difficult morning on Twitter as it was. #trade Begley.
I have no say over any of this, Robert. I'm sorry. I over, especially with Ian Begley reports. I just, unfortunately, I put the super chats up.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want. Oh, my issue with the Quickly thing. Yeah, I figured I'd get more questions about this, so sorry to save it to the end. But my issue right now with the notion of trading Emmanuel Quickly is I cannot fathom his valuation around the league and this touches on what you just talked about with RJ. That his valuation right now around the league is anything close to, I think, what it could be. And so the notion that I'm not one of these, like, you're gonna have to trade some of these kids, can't pay all the kids. That's how you lock yourself into being a mediocre team. He's a really good player. He's not an untradeable player, like all those sorts of things. He's still a guard. He's not a lead initiator, all that stuff. I get all that. But even with all that being considered, and even with the fact that as an organization, you do have to start to make smart choices, and consolidating the roster in some way, shape, or form is a smart choice. The notion that you would trade that dude when his offense is so bad right now, and like at the valuation you're going to get, like you would get like a crappy first round pick. Like that doesn't sound like smart process to me. It doesn't sound like smart process to me. And that's the part that's like a little irksome.
We went into it on the pregame show. It makes no sense to trade a Mayo quickly right now. Especially since he's not even on his second contract yet. And because you suppressed his value by not playing him in certain roles, like you've never even featured him as a starter, is what I'm saying. You never gave us the chance to see what he could be as a starter. You've now got him in extension mode as a bench player. So as a result, his extension should be less. So trading him makes no sense. So somebody else can take advantage of what that uptick could be.
I don't know. I don't know that you. I think he's going to want to get paid, and I think there's a world where a team, as evidenced by the fact that teams are calling and teams are interested in him, I think someone will pay him.
I'm not saying no one's going to pay him, but he's not going to make starters money, is my point. Like, you're going to get him at a discount if you extend him.
I don't know
this offseason.
If I was a team, I would absolutely give that dude, with the way the cap is going up, I would give that dude at a minimum $12 million a year.
Right. As opposed to a starter that he might get $15 a year. Mitchell Robinson just got $60 million. And
he's a center. Yeah.
That's my point. You can get him at a discount because you've suppressed his value. Again,
he got a lot of time to go until then.
Yeah. Which is why, to your point, the process of trading Mayo quickly makes no sense. And as a result, this would be more indication that this front office doesn't know what they're doing.
I don't think they don't know what they're doing.
All right, you're letting all the RJ out tonight. Get the front office out tonight too. Like,
listen,
base level competence is not something to be like, they know what they're doing. Given by the fact that they're potentially their most impressive center on the team this season was their third center.
I think the front office can't get out of their own way. Like, they almost think too much about what to do. I think then they have a lot of like different notions, and there's not a central. There is a central purpose, obviously, trade for a star. We know that, but that is not that's not a plan. That's I don't even know what that is. Anyway,
especially when you don't have the first one, like to trade for the first star is always difficult. No, it'd be different if Randall was what he was 2 years ago. If RJ was anything close to what some people thought he was going to be, but
like trading for Andrea Bargnani is a sign of a front office that doesn't know, like literally doesn't know what it's doing.
So again, maybe it's unfair to say isn't competent. I'm not confident in their base level of competence that they would evaluate quickly that way. And like, we could get him on a bargain. We should feature him more we should trade him to make room for whoever.
Is it a sign that there are a lot of if the Knicks trade quickly for what they'll probably get back right now, do I think most front offices around the league would be like, man, what the fuck are the Knicks doing? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Which would be unfortunate. Anyway, all right. That's all she wrote. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back Sunday afternoon before and after the Suns games. 4 p.m. game, is that right?
3:30. I can double check now.
Okay, something in the afternoon. But we'll be here before and after.
3:30.
Everybody have a good Saturday. I can't believe it's almost
Eastern,
2 in the morning.
Eastern Standard Time.
Don't forget, as I yawn my way through an ad read, it's exactly what you want. Download the WynnBet app or visit www.wynnbet.com to start winning. Keep betting those Draymond 3-point overs. Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, win $100. Download, bet, win.
Deuces, everybody. Have a good Saturday.
Later.